Tosca is one of those great classics that needs to be done regularly, and there's always a new audience for it, because we often think that everybody has heard Tosca, but every day somebody is born, every day there is a new audience for Tosca. And when you have a cast such as we have, with Richard Leach and Galina Gorchakova and Kim Julian, and a great conductor like Edoardo Muller, I mean, it's a perfect work. It balances the season. It gives us a great drama with Puccini. It's a popular work, and it should come pretty close to selling out. So we're not doing something the public don't want. We're clearly doing something that they do want. Tosca is a remarkably simple story. There is a painter in love with a great singer. The painter is Cavaradossi, the singer is Tosca. There's a chief of police, Scarpia, who lusts after Tosca. And he finds a great excuse when Cavaradossi helps a prisoner escape from the Castel Sant'Angelo. He then tortures Cavaradossi, knowing that Tosca will intervene, saying, "What price can I pay to prevent you killing or torturing my lover?" And of course, Scarpia says, "There's a very simple price, just lie down on this couch." But there's a wonderful twist. It's like Agatha Christie, because Tosca kills Scarpia after getting a promise of a release and a written release to free them both, but she doesn't realize that Scarpia has arranged what was to be a mock execution as a real execution, and Cavaradossi is shot dead in front of Tosca, who again doesn't know until she goes over to him and asks him to get up and come away with her. So it's full of little twists and turns and evil and monsters and lovers and passion, and 4 people get killed in the opera. So what more do you need?
Many people ask me what is the opera that I love most. And it is an obvious answer, of course, but it is the opera I am conducting in that moment. Because all the research, the study, the rehearsals help you in going deeper into the piece. And of course, this at the moment of Tosca, and I love it so much, I consider it a masterpiece, and I'm so happy to do it at this moment.
Fuggi per Aurora, is that where you are?
That'll do. Yeah, pick it up there.
All right.
Okay. Fuggi per ora. Fuggi per ora.
This is your 3rd opera that you've worked on with Ian Campbell directing.
Yeah.
Can you talk briefly about your experience as Ian as a director of an opera production?
Oh, it's great. First of all, we are, and we were before we did the first production together, great friends, not just personally, but our idea, conception of what an opera has to be, it's very close, very similar. And we respect each other, in the sense that I'm asking him something, if it's okay for this production, and he asks me. So there is a good relation, good artistical relation.
When you do one of the great Italian classics, particularly the Puccinis and the Verdis, Edoardo Muller is the first name to spring to mind. He knows every note of these scores. He knows not only how to conduct them, but he understands them from the theatrical point of view. He and I see absolutely eye to eye in the way the production is being directed and where the pauses should be, where the little bits of rubato should occur, so that I'm able to have the artists do dramatically what I need without in any way adversely affecting his musical shape. Chin up a little higher, that's it. The thing about any production is it is a very slow process. It sort of goes on the back burner and just bubbles away gently. And every now and then, when I listen to an aria or when I think of the opera, I think of a movement, I think of an action, I think of a way of producing the work. For example, the opening of Act Two. It's in the score, actually, that when the curtain goes up, Scarpia is seated at his desk eating dinner. Well, I decided some time ago I didn't want that. So there are little differences like this. I decided that instead we're going to have a domestic scene. So when the curtain goes up, we see candles being lit in his room, but he isn't there yet. He enters with Sharone, whom he normally calls in later, and we establish that Sharone is a confidant of his, so they're talking together. These little things emerge just by letting it bubble on that back burner, as it were. In creating a production, there are really two elements. There's being a corrector as well as a director. The director is the one with that overview of the shape, that long arc from beginning to end of the piece, and the consistencies that must be maintained throughout the run of the show. The corrector, however, is correcting gestures and movements that are instinctive or natural to the artists, but maybe not quite appropriate for that overview of the production. And correcting and directing are two very important elements. You don't just direct and say, no, do it. One has to find what is natural, what works well. How does an artist actually walk? Can that walk be used appropriately, or do you have to have the artist walk differently? Does the artist walk from the chest or from the waist or from the shoulders? You have to look at them and incorporate those elements that are native, that can't be changed, and that's where correcting and directing combine wonderfully. Check, is there, am I alone? Am I alone here? And then he pulls you back into the action. Yeah. Yeah, and he can do that. If you're looking the other way, he'll do it with his crop, or he'll pull you back. Okay. Can we continue, do you think?
I don't like to carry a lot of baggage into the rehearsal. Sometimes it's hard, particularly, you know, if you just did a production and a director's very different. Sometimes you got to spend days just kind of shedding some of that baggage and getting rid of some of those ideas so that you can go forward with the new one. Ian helped me get rid of the baggage pretty quickly. I was used to doing some very different gestures, and he stripped me of that pretty quickly, and then we added back in some different types of gestures. There are a couple times where I really do open up physically, and that works great. And then there are times where I'm really very, very subdued with my hands behind my back and just taking it all in. So it's the cunningness of the character that we've really worked on, I think.
Directing is always a negotiation. There's no way that a director should come in and say, we do it this way and only this way. And with Richard, with all of his experience and his wonderful voice, you want to give him every opportunity possible, but at the same time maintain the integrity of the drama. Working with him has been a delight. It's the first time we've ever worked together. We've promised for years we would get around to this. And working with him is such a pleasure because everything can be negotiated, everything can be discussed. And I think what we have come up with here is a production that gives the artists their head to do what they feel emotionally is important, but it's all within the pattern that I have established. So I like the detail that we've been able to put into this production. I think it's more detailed than any Tosca we have done here previously. I think there are some interesting little changes here and there that The really observant will notice. But Richard is such a joy because he always gives fully at every rehearsal, always actively involved in looking for solutions to problems, not creating them. What happens here is don't go too far around the corner on the exit. You stop so that you can turn him around.
Can you stop me? What?
A little bit further. Go just a fraction further to the end of the altar. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
nice to have the stop first.
So you can just tug his arm a little bit.
Anything else? Can I help with anything?
And remember to keep regular eye contact between the two of you. It's quite important. That'll do. Back. Okay.
Every time we put a role on a stage with a different group of people, those people bring out new things in the character we thought we had figured out. And then add to that mix a new director. So when we show up to the first rehearsal, there's this element of, okay, here's what I do. I bring to it exactly what I know I want to do, but at the same time, I have next to it an empty page, and you see what's going to happen on the empty page. And it's the mixture of those two, the marriage of those two things that makes each production different and exciting. So when I get together with this cast, all of a sudden I'm up there with Kim as Scarpia, and he is entirely different than any Scarpia I've ever had. And I play off of that, and it changes the reactions that I thought I maybe had figured out.
One spot is when I come over and say anything, if you could hold your ground, especially as being a little bit, until I respond. Otherwise I feel like...
With any character, he's complex. If he's an interesting character at all, he's got complexities that give you a wide range of possibilities. And Mario Cavaradossi does that. He's madly in love with Tosca, in spite of her diva-ness, which is really one of the cuter things, I think, that takes place in the first act. While she's being this sort of jealous diva type, he clearly observes it, recognizes it, but it's the kind of thing that he gets a kick out of, and it's one of her idiosyncrasies that he adores. And hopefully that comes across in the opera.
Galina was a great asset to bring into this cast. It was to be Katerina Dalaiman, but after the terrorist attacks in New York, she decided she didn't want to fly to America. And I called Galina in Moscow and said, "Are you free in these dates?" And she said, "Yes, I am." And I said, "I wonder if you would care to come back to San Diego, having done a recital here previously, and sing the role of Tosca." And she said, "Of course." And that was just terrific.
I started to sing this role in the beginning of my career. I think she's a real woman, and it's a dream for every man, I think, because she's a real lover, and she's a real heroine, and she's a real singer, I think.
So you identify with her being a real singer and a real woman? I'm try, but it's a dream. This is a dream of Puccini, I think, Giacomo Puccini, how he feel and see the woman.
my favorite moment in every opera and in Tosca too, when I have first step to the stage and the orchestra come to play and everybody's ready and I'm sitting in a dressing room and thinking about my character and my singing and already prepare my voice, and I go to the stage and I feel myself like a bird before the flying. This is best moment in my life. And when opera is finished and public are happy. And I become happy too.
Galina is very, very kind on stage in that she really, if I give her a look, she really does give me a reaction, and we really respond to each other that way, and that's really fun. It's nice when you have a colleague like that really does react to you personally, not just as the character, but to you personally, and that's the fun thing about this particular production.
Scarpia is a difficult character. You can look at him as an evil villain, you can make him murderous and awful from the very beginning, or you can make him oily and slimy. And I see him very much as the oily, slimy guy trying to take advantage of Tosca. He really wants her passionately. He always has. And he gets a wonderful opportunity even to sort of feel her up in Act 2 when he puts her jewelry back on her after she has offered it to him, when she says, "Il prezzo," what is the price to let my lover free? But if he is just a brute from the very beginning towards everybody, we can't believe in this character. He had to oil his way into a position of power. He had to be seductive in political terms as well as the more carnal terms. He is a bit of both. And I think that what Kim brings with his height and his particular dignity is the real ability to combine all of these elements in a very suggestive, oily, nasty way. We're delighted to see him get stabbed because we think he deserves it. But at the same time, I think in Act 1 and a bit of Act 2, some of the women in the audience will find him very appealing. And that's the complexity of Scarpia.
I think the character has so much beautiful poetry, and his music is so beautiful that I think, personally, the idea is that sometimes she kills him because she's so attracted to him. And I think oftentimes that plays off and that plays into the audience. And I think one of the hard things is to not come off as just a real vile person. I mean, he is a character that's very snake-like, but if you listen to his poetry and his melodies, it's not vile. It's very cunning, very seductive. And I think I like to play on that because of my strengths as being very tall and a big character on stage, physically anyway. I think that oftentimes you have to work with those guidelines as opposed to others. Now, you know, the original Scarpia was a very short and very homely looking man, and his character is very different than what mine is. The first time he meets Tosca, he's got this just beautiful line that just keeps going and going and going. And then you've got the Te Deum, which is like so eruptive and so glorious to be able to sing that. And then in the second act, he's got some small lines where they just come out of nowhere. And then he's got the big love aria with Tosca. So it's hard to say that there's any one point. I think the continuity of the character vocally is what's really fun about it.
Okay. You know how much I like these rehearsals, even more than performances. So I don't care at all about a mistake. But I care if you don't give me your participation in this rehearsal. Because we are having the singers, and for me this is a very important rehearsal. Let me introduce a few singers here. Mr. Offenbach, who will play Chardonnay. Welcome. Kim Julian is our Scarpia. Welcome. Francois Lowe is our Sagrestano. And Richard Leach is our title role. Ciao, cavaradossi.
Opera is a team work. There is no one in charge but the composer. But how we interpret the composer, everybody has his own way.
From the beginning.
While singers are the interpreters of the personage of Tosca, of Cavaradossi, Scarpia, the conductor is something different than an interpreter, something more and something less. The conductor, I consider him a recreator, in the sense music without the sound of music is not music. Music is not when you read the music. It becomes music when it is recreated, when another person creates the chance to produce the sounds that the composer wanted. Of course, we must be faithful to the composer. Absolutely, we all, but especially conductors, responsibility, this one. But if two great conductors think to respect 100% the piece of the composer, the result will be two different operas.
Hey, sorry, excuse me. You're ready to the best. Okay. Bravissimi, chorus. Bravissimi. Is it a chance, just a sense, or that you really will always go this way? For experience, I know it's very useful to repeat this. I thank you, I'm very happy. Let's show me if it was just an accident. Okay.
Because we cannot avoid to deal with our personality, with our feelings, with our culture. For this reason, the moment we are conducting an opera, we are giving new life. We are recreating the piece. I really feel myself an opera conductor, and for this reason I live on stage. I love singing, I love singers, and I try to get the best out of them. I will get it.
There's always a good reason to come back to a Tosca. First of all, it's great music, it's a great story, it's a powerful work. In terms of interpretation, every artist brings something different vocally, dramatically, and that's the truth about opera. It's not like a movie. When one goes to see Casablanca yet again on videotape, Humphrey Bogart does it the same way every time. When you come to an opera, such as Tosca, Richard Leach's Cavaradossi here is not the Cavaradossi he sang at the Met, and Galina's Tosca is not the Tosca she did at the Bolshoi. These are their performances specifically for San Diego. And I think we've done something pretty exciting here in bringing this cast together with Eduardo conducting, and I think it's an opera not to be missed.
Cristo su, Mario, Mario, Cristo, andiamo.